right. Let's see. I think we're live. Welcome, Paris. How are you?
I'm good, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I am so glad you joined me. So we met the other day through Paces Sub 2. We're both members. We're both in the community, in the family. And I'm so glad we could get together today because you have something special that you're working on, and it's coming up, I think, pretty soon.
It's coming.
So
It's coming.
we need to get the word out. So I'm happy to be a part of this. But first, let's if you don't mind, can you share a bit of your background and how you came to Sub 2?
Absolutely. So my name is Paris Capers, and this is always the most awkward part of my day because I'm a talker, right? So this is like my talking though is usually directed at other people, which I've always said, right? So about me, my name is Paris Capers. Um, I do a lot of things, but most importantly, up front, I'm a husband and father. So I've been with my wife for 6 years. I have two amazing little girls. We were talking about those before we started recording. My two girls, my oldest is about to be 6, and my youngest just turned 4, and they are just the apple of my eye. I love them. I love them. I love them. And so one day when we start showing them like the content that we've created, like shout out to my girls. Um, Over here in North Carolina, so I'm a sub 2 investor, right? I'm a unicorn agent by trade, which means that I am a licensed realtor here in North Carolina, but I also specifically I am investor focused. Some agents will say, "Oh, I'm investor friendly." Like, no, 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 no. There's no such thing as an investor mean agent, right? Like you're not unfriendly to investors. Well, some are, right? Um, but I'm focused on investors, so I don't really deal in the traditional transactions, buying and selling on as a realtor anymore. I'm really focused on being an investor, working for myself with partners, and tackling different problems that way. And then within the sub 2 community, I'm also an integrator. So what I do with as an integrator is I solve problems. I make systems. I put things together. I try to look at the bigger picture and say, this is a thing that is or is not working. What do I have to do to make it work?
I love
And
it.
yeah, and so as a sub 2 investor and a unicorn agent, I'm serving Eastern North Carolina. So I'm over here on the Crystal Coast. And my team of other realtors who are not really focused on investors, they handle all the work that I say I don't want to do, but really they just bless me with the opportunity of just being focused on investing, right? Um, Inside of
Right.
sub 2, I mean, I do a lot of things right now, and I'm kind of like skipping through it in my head because I'm always like, okay, don't miss anything. Right within that, my main efforts right now are direct to seller and direct to agent efforts. And so what I'll do is I'll go after a number of leads and persons. I'll try to find I'll try to get directly to the seller who needs help. Right, I'm helping people who need to sell their homes for any number of reasons, whether it's because they're facing foreclosure, maybe it's an inherited home and it's not in the best shape. In many cases, what I'm also attacking directly, and this is really my main space, is low equity VA loans, right? And so, as a
Ooh,
veteran
yeah.
myself, I was a Marine for 13 years. I think I skipped over that part up there, but I was a Marine for 13 years, and so I'm familiar with some of the struggles of it, of the experience. And what I found is that where we are in this cycle of finances, is that there's a number of people who are in service who are finding themselves having to move, and they don't have enough equity to be able to sell that house. So they've got to pay the seller, whatever the case is. And that makes no sense to me when there's creative finance structure, right? Like nobody
Right.
should ever do a short sale. Nobody should ever go to foreclosure. Like
Oh,
it's bonkers to me. And so that's really what I get after. So direct to seller, direct to agent as well, because some of these properties they get listed on the market. And what happens is the agent has to tack on some price so that they get paid and that the closing attorneys and all the other escrow officers get paid. And then unfortunately, the property is overpriced. I've seen it so many times, and it's like, hey, Mr. Seller, Mr. Agent, you have a problem. I can show
mm,
you based on all the data that you're overpriced. And yes, the market will pay what the market will allow, but we can
right.
see in the numbers that you've been sitting for 30, 60, 90 days. We can see that you're 20, 30 grand overpriced, comparatively speaking. And I can
Right.
also see, because of the tools that I use, I can also see that after the sale, your seller's getting nothing. So let's talk about what's
True.
best for your seller.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we can make a better solution here, get everyone paid, and then we can move to a better position instead of just doing it because that's the way that it's always been done, which I hate.
Oh
Let's
my
do it a
God.
better
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Oh,
I my specialty, like I said, is low equity VA loans because I understand the VA entitlement. I've leveraged my VA loan as an investor, and now as a sub two student, as a sub two unicorn agent, and an integrator, and direct to seller, and direct to agent specialist. My main focus is helping other people understand those things so that they can go forth and help more veterans. That's like
I love
my
it.
favorite thing when they go out. Um, so
That's
inside,
awesome.
yeah. Inside of that space, like I do those things myself, but my biggest function is I hosted a daily Zoom and I help people understand these things, and then I set them out into the world to go help other people. So I'll give them a
Nice.
list of low equity properties in their market, or I'll show them how to pull that list for freemium, right? So they're not spending all their
Mhm.
money to get into the game. And so people who are interested in real estate, I'm like, look, where do you want to work? What are you trying to do? If you don't have direction, I can provide that. And then just put them on the path that will eventually help somebody who needs it.
That's awesome. So were you an agent before you joined Sub2, or did you decide that you wanted it to become an agent after you joined Sub2?
So that's a really good question. So no, I was an agent before I joined Sub Two, but the
Okay.
timing is actually super interesting. So my wife and I, we've been in the real estate world since 2018, right? So way back in the past, I was still in the Marine Corps. I was actually a drill instructor at the time, and so I was at a point in my tour as a drill instructor where I was effectively like right in the middle. And so I had gotten all the hard things out of the way where I was learning how to actually be a functioning drill instructor, how I was going to make Marines, how I could be demanding without being abusive, and how I knew the rules and I understood the training schedule because it's Groundhog Day, right? We're doing the same thing every day,
Yeah.
13 weeks. At a certain
Right.
point, it becomes almost like calculus, like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. I can teach it to other people. So where I
Yeah.
was at that particular stage was I was at a position where I had learned enough that I was so fluent in the schedule that I had more time. And so
Ooh.
what unfortunately some people would do is they'd waste their time, they'd go off and they'd sleep or they'd go play video games. But that's not where we were in our journey. We had just discovered the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. We had just discovered the Kiyosakian mindset that
Yes.
changed so many people's lives.
Me
And I
too.
remember like being up in the mountains, like thinking to myself, like, this is it. This is the thing.
Yes.
Um, and so we did what we did. What we ended up doing in there, we were familiar with bigger pockets. We got into Burr. We did fix and flip. The 2 year
Okay.
flip story, I'll tell that on the next one, or maybe we talk about
Okay.
it. It was terrible. It was critical failures in
Oh.
the way in the areas that they say, oh yeah, your first flip is going to be bad, but they don't tell you. They tell you how bad. This one was terrible. It was critical failure.
Oh
Fast forward through
no.
that. Fast forward through all the other lessons we learned in leveraging our VA entitlement, building our portfolio by buying properties, and my wife was also a Marine, so we leveraged that. I've only been a realtor since 2022, right? About October is when I finally got my license. But
Okay.
about within that year of 2022, I was exposed to PACE and creative finance. And I mean, I spent about 18 months ahead of when I became joined Sub 2 in February of 2023. I spent about 18 months absorbing content. And so I'm a systems guy. And so what I was doing was I was learning from PACE. I was understanding. I was looking at all the videos. I was checking all the content because there's so much.
Yeah.
And what I was doing is I was deconstructing in my head how these things worked. I would go and do research. I was looking up documents. I'm like, okay, cool. I see what a note looks like. Now I understand this component. Okay, cool. I see what this deed says. Ah, that means this and this. And so what we ended up doing is we deconstructed to a degree. I think that there's a lot that I missed, but we effectively deconstructed the general process. Um, and so I became a realtor, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the Marine Corps, and I'll be a realtor as a side hustle. And then what ended up happening was we bungle our way through a couple of transactions where we're helping other people structure some deals, but we didn't really know what we were doing. And then it was February, there was an elephant challenge that popped up. And you sign up for the elephant challenge and it's a funnel, right? So now
Yes.
I'm like distinctly aware of the systems, like, oh, you're getting into somebody's funnel, you give them your email, you give them your number, they're going to contact you. And so we signed up for the elephant challenge because I was like, I think it's time. I think I know enough and I've done enough where I can do it. And literally, like the same day, I get a call from the one of the support staff, and like, hey, Paris, how are you? I'm with the team, so yada yada yada. Are you familiar with Pace Morby? And I'm like, look, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't really think about whether I was gonna get a call when I put my information in there, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm already sold. There's no question here. I'm already on board because I've been doing it over here and messing it up. It
This is going
works.
to be an easy sell, is what you
This is
basically
it's a super easy sell. And I told her, I was like, look, we don't have to go through the whole thing. Maybe you still got to do
That's
that.
funny.
Whatever your thing is, I'm totally down to let you practice on me. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm more focused on how much does it cost and where do I
Yes.
pay. I'm done. I'm
Yes.
already in. And she's like, okay, well, and I can hear her like flipping over her pages, and I'm like, yeah, girl, let's just do it. Like, let's just
That's
but yeah,
funny.
I was a realtor before sub two, but my pedigree in real estate goes back a few years where we spent a lot of time in the analysis paralysis phase,
Mm,
where we were really I like to think that our analysis paralysis phase was very small because we were looking for deals and we were trying to figure out what a deal actually looked like before we finally got locked in. We said, okay, this is a good deal for us. It meets the criteria that we set
right.
when we were understanding what a BRRRR is and what the
Yeah.
general structures of ROI, a return on investment, and cash on cash returns and things of those like that are. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, sub two has just been a whirlwind since then, though, right? Like all the things that I thought that I learned, and I mean, I did in looking from the outside in, coming
Hmm.
into the community. And, that point, in fact, coming into the community, being around people like yourself, like all the other amazing rock stars that I've been with, like it has been amazing. And then
Yeah.
the opportunity to then give back and teach some of those things and share with other people and help other people get to the success they want. Like it's just a big compounding effect. And I love it. It's my favorite thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so I have a note to at some point we're going to talk about that 2-year fix and flip. But
Oh gosh.
that
Okay.
aside, what do you think uh, have been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced along the way, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, some of the biggest challenges that we faced along the way was really the time management piece that came with being W-2 and even further military
True.
employees, right?
Yeah.
That is something that cannot be understated that I think that there's a lot of discussion and content about. But the barriers for us were that because my wife and I were young professionals, I was in the Marine Corps. It was even worse because I understand because in my job in the Marine Corps, I was a marketing and public affairs specialist, right? So I was like a journalist,
Okay.
photographer, videographer. I did editing, multimedia pieces. I have content, articles, photos, and videos that are published that are out there on in the world, right? Um,
Hmm.
but the barrier for me was that at my role where I had been since I learned about real estate and real estate investing, many of my roles were in positions where I didn't have access most of the time, right? There's what we call a secure area. So I'm effectively in a big box where there's no phones. I can't take my cell phone in there. It's all government phones, government laptops, things like that. And it's a digital world, right? I built my
Yeah.
systems digitally so that we could interact. I can't pull up Gmail in the space. I can't pull up Todoist. I can't pull up any of the systems that I would use to run the machine. And then on top of that, we're starting days super early in the morning. So the day starts at, let's call it 6 a.m. I have to be on the road, which truthfully isn't that early. But what I had to do was I had to build in systems so that I would get up early and work on the things that I cared about. And then
Yeah.
after work, of course, I have to have that family balance, right? The balance of making sure that I'm keeping myself healthy, being my best self, that I'm taking
Right.
care of my family, and then also that I'm building forward. And the most difficult part was creating that balance and focusing on creating those things and saying like, I'm tired. I am going to be tired for a long time. I would rather have control of how long I would rather be tired. And if I can stay tired for long enough while I'm working on these things and put in the hours before I got to go to work and then after I would have to go to work, then that's what's going to happen. So I'd
Yeah.
get off work and I'd come home and we'd play with the kids. And once we put the kids to bed, my wife and I, we would come to the office and we'd put in 3 hours of work in the evening, right? 3, 4 hours of work
Yeah.
in the evening. And then we get up in the morning and we do an hour or two before work. And so we were getting 7
Yeah.
hours of an additional workday in where for others, it'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep and watch some Netflix. And sometimes we did that too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the hardest part, the most difficult challenge was building in the systems and having the discipline to stick with them so that we could even have the opportunity to do the things that we wanted to do. Um,
Yeah.
Game
Okay,
changer.
so then what is like the top system or process that really has made a difference for you then?
Okay, all right. It's like you're looking at my notes. Okay, so so
I'm just
I'm a
following the flow. I'm
no,
curious
you're
because
good.
I'm part
So
integrator. So like
you're good. You're good.
I
I
need
love
to
it.
see.
So one of the things that we had to build into ourselves is the discipline to read and learn, right? So to become
Yes.
lifelong learners. And one of the books that I happened to come across, I don't even remember, I cannot remember for the life of me where it came from. It might have been from a Bigger Pockets podcast or something like that. But one of
Mm,
the books that I read, two books that I read, one was called Vivid Vision and one
okay.
was called Traction. Traction is the one I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
Traction by Gino Wickman. Traction is a book that explores the system called Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS.
Mm,
Um, EOS is, for me as an integrator, the Bible of how to work in a system. It's a Bible of looking at a problem statement, at looking at what outcomes you want, and be able to say, all right, yeah, let me put down the very specific things that are going to help me get
right.
there. It's a
Okay.
combination of visualization, and action that meets in a perfect document. And so EOS allows you to look at so many specific things. Like one, it talks about what are your 10-year goals, right? And it sounds maybe like fugazi, but starting with where do you want to be in 10 years? Just
Yeah.
snapshot, right? In 10 years, okay, we want a real estate investing company. We want to have rentals and we want to be capital partners and we want to have a lending machine where we can help other people get their first deal. And we want to be able to provide a nonprofit. We want to have a nonprofit where we give back to the community and all these other things. And then the picture gets clearer and clearer. And you begin to
Yes.
paint the picture of what exactly are you doing. And so now that you've talked about, and this isn't by any means groundbreaking, but the
Mm,
function of EOS is that the packaging is the secret, right? There's a document called the Vision Traction Organizer, and the VTO is the document. It's the paper that I carry around. I've got like 4 VTOs in my desk, right? I've got them saved over. I share this tool with other people. And I'm like, dude, go read Traction, and the business that you're building or whatever it is,
yeah.
apply these systems. There's things in there like, how do I have a meeting? How do I have a functional, valuable meeting? Because when I was in the Marine Corps, one thing, and I'm sure it's the same thing for others, one thing I hated was pointless meetings. I
Oh my
hated
God.
it.
Yes.
Like,
Oh
kill me
yeah.
now. Kill me
Yeah.
now. I'm not coming.
Right.
I'm not showing up. I'm going to show up late,
I'm not even
unprepared.
going.
I'm not even going. If there's a fire, I'm not going to show up. I promise you that. Um,
Oh,
and
yes.
so EOS has functions where we have processes that appoint systems, and you have to have an agenda, and there is a flow. And the
Right.
problems that you might have that come up during those meetings that usually derail them, EOS is a system for that, right? The issue discussion resolution (IDS) system, where hey, I have a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We are literally not going to talk about that right now. This is
Yes.
where it goes. There's a spot for it. There is a time and place to discuss those things. This is literally not it, and we're not doing it.
I
Right.
love it.
And
Yes.
just so
Yes.
many other things that you might take for granted, or if you look at your current system, you might say, man, this is a problem. I really don't like the way that, like, I feel like I'm lost. Like I'm not getting guidance, right? EOS has a system where it's the people analyzer, right? Where I can look at a particular employee or a person who's working in my machine. And before I even bring them into the machine, I ask myself, what do I actually care about? What are the values that I, as a business owner, actually want to be presented in my system? And then
Yeah.
I can evaluate, I present that, right? And it seems simple that you should probably know what you want from people before you bring anyone in. That's a thing. Makes
Makes
sense.
sense.
And then once I brought someone in, the coaching and the evaluation is imperative, right? In the Marine Corps,
True.
we create our own leaders. And so what you would have to do is you would have to say, hey, PFC Capers or Sergeant Capers, you're a good Marine. Here's why you're a good Marine. You show judgment. Here's how I evaluated you on judgment on a scale of 1 to 7. Here is justice.
Mhm.
Here's how I believe you showcase your understanding of justice and how it manifests around you, and all of these other
Mhm.
characteristics of what a leader is. The tool that is provided in EOS, the people analyzer, it's even simpler. Hey, Stephanie, there's 5 things that when you were hired, here's the 5 things that we said we cared about. Are how they apply to your job. There's 3 categories. You get it, you want it, and you have the capacity to do it. I either believe you get it, i.e., you understand what we're trying to do. If you
Right.
want it, you have the energy and the enthusiasm to pursue it. And if you have the capability, then you're applying yourself in a way that is going to get you there. And it's very
Yeah.
simple. It's plus, plus minus, or it's minus. If it's a plus, great. You're winning. You're doing what we need you to do. It aligns. If it's plus
Yeah.
minus, it's a coaching point. We need to talk about what that is. And if it's a minus, then that's something that we can't live with. And so the discussion
Mm.
is, I want pluses. I can work with plus minuses. I can't have minuses. But my responsibility as a business owner is to help you understand, hey, here's the thing that you haven't been doing. This
Okay.
is showing the track record over time, just as a snapshot, without a full assessment of all the roles and responsibilities. These are the 5 things that matter the most. These are the
Right.
non-negotiables. You're doing all of them except for this one.
Yeah.
What can we do to make it better, right? And being able to develop the system of developing people,
Right.
then in turn creates a better system, right? And so
Right.
I
Right. I
love
love
I
it.
love EOS. I believe in it. All of the tools, I love them all. The People Analyzer, the VTO. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's always fun, most importantly, because that 10-year goal snaps down to a 3-year, and then
Right.
it goes down into a 1-year picture, and then it goes down into your quarterly goals. They call them rocks. And so what I'm able to do is I'm able to say, hey, my marketing department has goals. These are
Yeah.
what they are. Everything is funneled down. And so every level is connected to the higher level. And we break it down into a small piece and say, don't worry about the big picture. There's people who are focused on that. Kenzie, my wife, she's focused on the big picture. What do
Yeah.
we have to do right now? What is the thing that we need to do in the next 90 days to get to the next level, the next
Right. Yeah.
stage? And that,
That makes
that
sense.
level of clarity, that the level of accountability, there's even more systems for accountability, right? But that level of clarity and accountability as a business owner, as like a squirrel brain type person, because as an integrator, I'm like, oh, I got to do all these different things.
Yeah.
It's the game changer. And even better, it's
Nice.
easier to organize people.
Yeah. What you were describing reminded me of something that Jesse said. I was on a podcast with Jesse, and he mentioned, I think it was, how did he put it? It's asking the right question, right? So if your question is, how do I make 100,000 a month? Then now every answer that you're looking for is focused towards that versus just what kind of systems do I need to have to get started? But what's your goal, right? What are you trying to get at? So I think that just triggered that comment that he made, because it sounds like that's what this EOS is about. It's where are you trying to go? Where are you heading? And then, okay, now let's map that out, right? And
Absolutely.
we can build it out into from 10 years to 5 years to 1 year to quarterly. And that is awesome. I wonder though, like, that works perfectly for you as an integrator, right? Not everybody's an integrator.
That's fair.
So it's like, then if you're a visionary, or, because so we're talking avatars, right? In the sub 2
Hmm.
community, not everybody might be familiar with that. But if you're an integrator, then this can work perfectly for you. If if that's not your strong suit, then partner up with an integrator, right? I mean,
For sure.
that's what Pace and Cody have done. That's what a lot of people have done in the community. Is you have your visionaries, your other avatars where they have their strong suits. It's like Pace has said, it's not how do I do this, or how can I fit into making this kind of system work for me, but maybe it's who do I connect with
Exactly
that
that.
is already built this out, right? That
Sure.
knows this, and then I'm bringing these other value adds to the process. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely built in a way where, as an integrator, it makes perfect sense for me. But it's also it's so interesting because it aligns itself with that visionary language of looking at the big picture, and just the way it's structured. Like whether you're a numbers systems type of person, or you're a
Right.
big picture gal, like those two things are present in that document. And even
Exactly.
better, exactly what you said, where it's not about just doing it by yourself. It's about finding people that can help you, right? And the
Yeah.
the entirety of the People Analyzer and the accountability tools are to help you understand, like, what do I actually need to have happen in this machine, and am I the person to do it or not? Plot twist.
Yeah.
It's not you. It's not you. Go
Right.
get the other person. That person is better at it. Like,
Exactly.
I'll sit here and smash my face against spreadsheets all day. I'm happy with that. If that
Yeah.
makes you want to leave the planet Earth, like, let me do it. I'll do that
Yeah.
all day, right? You know,
Right,
you have
right, right,
fun.
right. Yeah. I know. It reminds me of where Pace had said something about Cody had offered to go up on stage for a presentation. And Pace is like, why are you going to do that? That's my job. Like you said, you do this stuff. You do what
Yeah.
you're best at with the systems and everything. And Cody was like, oh, thank God. Because
He's
he
like,
didn't
I hate it.
want to
I
do
did
it.
not want to do it.
He would do it if he thought he needed to do it,
Yeah.
that Pace and everybody needed him to do that. He was willing to do it, but it was definitely stepping outside of his comfort zone. And so Pace like, no, you don't need to do it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing is, for some of us where we're very comfortable with these things, then let us do that and then partner up, get that team that can help fill in where you're not so strong in it, because we
Absolutely.
don't all have to do everything,
And
right?
that is the
Oh,
most
huge.
that is such a that like do not let that lesson slip by you, whomever
Yeah,
you are, to the audience. That is such an important piece. You could potentially do it by yourself. That's a
yeah,
possibility. But there are people who want to get where you're going, and you might be better off, better suited working with them to get there. And
exactly.
that has to become part, like, the community and the collaboration is literally the answer. It's the action is the
Yes.
answer, and the action is collaboration, right? I think
Yep.
that in the community they say collaboration over competition. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Right, right. Well, if you think about, it's one thing if you want to have one or two deals a year,
Mhm.
then do that by yourself, I guess, right? But if your ultimate goal is to make it a business, then every business has people, has a team. So, and the more successful you want to be, those bigger numbers that you want to hit, whether it's, dollars per month or properties or whatever, however your KPIs are, then you need to have a team and you need to have the system in place. So,
Absolutely. And you just
yeah,
knowing that fact is so valuable. And so, like, one of the, with the office hours where we're transitioning into a bit more professionalized structure, we were talking about KPIs yesterday, and it's like, well, what
yeah.
do we want to do? And the conversation drifted to, like, well, we want to make money. Sure, okay. So we want to make money
Yeah.
together. Well, how much do we need, right? What's the number that you
Ooh.
want to get every month
Yep.
after everything else is done? And so we were like, well, I was like, well, something I know by design is that most people, $10,000 for most people is life changing. If you could
Yeah.
bring in $10,000 a month, like, you're done. And so let's
Mhm.
just start with that point. And so that's $10,000 across three different families. So that's $30,000. So now let's work backwards. We want to get at least $10,000 per contract. The business is going to keep 60% of that. So that comes out to about $5,400 per contract, or whatever the case is. How
Mhm.
many contracts do we need to get to be able to have all the other costs paid as far as the cost per contract, and then
Right.
extract 30,000? And so we worked our way backwards. And then we figured out that it came down to about 6 contracts a month. Okay, cool. 6 contracts a month. After everything is said and done, we get 30,000. Great. Now, question mark, how many leads is that? Well, if we just
Oh,
assume
right.
a 1% conversion rate, that means that we have to have 800 conversations a month, right? And I normally don't do math in public, but this is something that we had done before. And I might be wrong still, like, who's to say? But what we came to is, like, I need to process 800 qualified
Right.
leads. And so I could call a billion people and most of them won't need help. So if we focus
Yeah.
on the data, and we focused on good data, and we focused on good systems and processes, if I can contact 800 qualified quality leads and I only have to convert 1% of them, that's 6 deals. That's enough money for my system to generate $10,000 per month consistently.
Yeah.
And that's like,
Awesome.
okay, cool. We can do that. Let's do
Now
that.
we know. Right. Exactly. Instead of just kind of flying by the seat of your pants, now you have an idea of how many calls does it take?
Exactly.
How many leads does it take to
Mhm.
hit that mark? So that's awesome. And I think that also then it gives you that clarity. Like you said, you now know if you're on track or not,
For
right?
sure.
Because you've got your numbers mapped out. So That's huge. So we've talked a lot about sub 2 and avatars and some mindset and systems, but what we really came here for was to talk about this something special that is coming up. So tell us about it.
That was a golden top tier alley oop, and I appreciate that. It was good. So yeah, as I said before, I'm doing a lot of things, but what I'm really focusing in on right now is community, right? So I'm here in North Carolina, and there's a bunch of guys and gals that are within this space that are really focusing on making this team, this group that we have, the North Carolina Sub 2 community, like the most amazing and active and competent and capable region on the sub 2 map, and we already feel like we are. And our question is some of these same things, like how do we quantify that? Like there's groups that are like, we're the best in the world, like based on what? Show me the digits.
What's the
I
criteria
I'm gonna
here?
need you. What criteria are we using to justify this position? And so
Yeah.
the answer for us, because we're all nerds, right? Or at least there's enough of us that are nerdy, are like, well, you know what people do? They go make these associations or these certifications, and then they determine what the qualifications are. So why don't we just do that? And we set the standard. Let's set the gold standard and tell people like this is how we're going to quantify and qualify what good and what bad is. And if you beat the thing, great, you beat us. But now we know what we're after. If I know what my KPIs are and my metrics have to be, then I'm just going to literally out track you because I want it more, right? And so what we're
Nice.
working on right now is myself. Shout out to Cameron Johnson. Shout out to Mackenzie Andrews, Sean Bolden. There's so many other people in the community that are working on this thing with me. Together, what we're hosting is on September 30th in Wilmington, North Carolina. We are hosting a unique real estate meetup. We're hosting it, and of all places, on a battleship, the Battleship North Carolina in Wilmington, right? I've got the
Awesome.
flyer. Steph, I'll share that with you.
Okay.
I'll share that with you. There's a Facebook page and everything, and we're pushing these things out. So what we're doing is we're hosting a real estate meetup, and the goal is to demystify real estate and also to give back, to serve those who have served. So the premise of it is that over here in the Carolinas, because I was a Marine here at Camp Lejeune, which is the Marine base over here, it's a very service-oriented area, right? The entirety of the coast and even other parts of North Carolina as you move toward the west are service-oriented. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to host an event where we can bring our expertise to the community. We can add value, make it free entry, so it's free for all to come. We're hosting it in a very unique place, which is one of the directives that we're getting from the sub 2 community. Have these events in places that are cool so people want to show up, right? Plot
Yeah.
twist. If you've never been on a battleship before, come and see us. Come
Yeah.
hang out, right? So we're hosting it on the battleship. There's going to be so much value because there's so many people who understand so many different things, right? We've got guys who are fix and flip masters. We've got gals who hold a short-term rental empire, and they're all we're looking to do is provide that value. In
Mm.
the immediacy, we have, because a lot of us are service members, we're
Yeah.
veterans. We want to give back to those veterans who are within the area, right? So there's a bunch of initiatives that we have where we're fighting veteran homelessness. So many great things happening. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to have an event, a day where we can bring people together in a cool place to talk about some of the things that can add value to their lives and change lives, right?
Yeah.
As we get together to attack some of the problems like veteran homelessness and mental health and making sure that families remain resilient and are taken care of, we're bringing people together. In this case, on the battleship. And what we're doing is we're fundraising, right? So what we're looking to do is I've been saying we're raising 20 grand in 20 days. And I guess realistically, it's actually 25 grand in 25 days.
Okay.
We're on our way, right? I think we actually just got another commitment for I think it was about $4,000. I want to knock on wood there. And so
Nice.
we're approaching. So the momentum is absolutely like rolling.
All right.
It's going. And so right now, we've got the venue, we're making sure that the catering is good. And at this stage where we are is we're just adding as much value as possible. We're looking to bring as many veteran-owned, civil service operated businesses as possible, so that anything that we have there is giving back to those who have served, right? Of course, the battleship itself is veteran owned and volunteer operated, right? Like that's part of the conversation within there. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, the viewpoint for us is that nothing matters if you don't have community. Nothing. Like
That's true.
you could do it yourself, as I said before, But why
Right.
would you want to?
Right.
Why would you want to?
Exactly.
And then at the end of the day, if you succeed, then who do you share it with? And so what we're looking to do is with some of those greats, and I think I'm still small potatoes, right? I think it's obvious that I'm still fairly small potatoes. I do some cool stuff, but I'm still a little guy. Um,
Humble.
but there's some big players who really, really care about these things. And I'm just grateful to be included among them so that I can add my value where it is. So I can do things like this and come talk to Steph, right? Like we're hanging out and I wish we had recorded more stuff. It was good.
Yes.
But it's fun. And this is what it's all about. And so I'm inviting everybody, if you're in the region, if you're anywhere where you can come to this event at the Battleship North Carolina on September 30th,
Okay.
please, please, please come. Please
You
come.
heard it. Yes. Everybody should come out.
You should.
Seriously, we're going to
You
put it
should.
out there. Hey, I'm in Arizona. I wish I could go. I would
I know.
love to go.
The
I've
next
never
chance
been.
I get, I'm gonna have to fly out there. Like, when's the next
Yes,
event, Steph? What's our
I
meetup?
know. You know what? We're going to have to come up with something, I guess, right? Because it sounds like there's this competition. What was it? I think Pace is giving out $5,000 to
Yeah, yeah,
each
yeah.
group that comes up with an event. It has to be free. It has to be unique. He's got all this criteria out there. So yeah, I guess you're already ahead of the game as
We're
far as
we're
I,
there's some guys and gals. They're just
I
it's so much
know.
fun. It's so much fun with our community because there's so many different types of people, and then
Yeah.
they're just really action oriented. And it's like, hey, this
Yes.
is an idea. Let's validate if it even makes sense.
Yeah.
Calculating, processing. It sounds good. Let's do it. Let's
Let's
just do
do
it. Let's just
it.
do
I
it.
know.
And so, like, it was like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna do a thing on a battleship. Okay, cool. What do we want to do? I didn't even talk about some of the great parts. I'm skipping the features here. So one of the things that we're putting on in there is that we're fundraising, right? We're looking for more sponsors. So if you are
Mhm.
interested in supporting this goal, all the proceeds will benefit the Gary Sinise Foundation, which takes
Okay.
care of and services veteran families and civil service families who have served and may need some additional assistance or support, right? So that's
Yeah.
where all the proceeds are coming. We've got a system set up so that all the funds are transparent and every single dollar that is not going directly toward one of the sponsored event pieces, i.e. the cost for the actual renting of the
Right.
ship and the cost for catering for the entire venue. Every other dollar that's not allocated towards something of that degree is going directly to the Gary Sinise Foundation. So we're
Awesome.
looking for sponsors to support the event, but we're also opening it up to donations, right? Anyone who is interested to support service members and people who have served, right? The veterans,
Yes.
you can do that, right? On the flyer, there's actually 3 QR codes, one to RSVP to the event, one to identify yourself as a sponsor and bring forth capital to support the event, and then the donation for everyone else, right?
Okay.
Those two pools are actually even separated for even more clarity within that space, right? But yeah,
Awesome.
one of the
Okay.
things that we're doing is we are hosting a raffle. So anyone who comes, especially those who sponsor, and even further, specifically the one who donate, they will receive an entry into a raffle. And what we're doing is this is the cool part, right? So we have a yacht charter. What we're looking to do is we have some volunteer individuals who will be VIPs on this charter. There's about 13 seats. And we're really doing, I mean, knock, knock, we're trying to get Pace, right? We're trying to get some of the people, some of
I
the
was
big
just
players,
gonna
right? So
say.
Pace, if you see this, you heard it here first. But we're trying to get some of the key players within our community here in North Carolina, some people within the community across the spectrum to be the subject matter experts, and then the winners, and there's about 9 seats that you would have in this particular case, they would get a catered, fully paid cruise, right? A multiple hour event where they would be off on this vessel with these VIPs, direct access privately, where they would have the opportunity to ask and answer any questions that may benefit them, right? And so we're looking to
Wow.
raffle that opportunity off, again, entirely free. But what we'd love is an opportunity for people to donate to a great cause, the Gary Sinise Foundation with the Lieutenant Dan Band. Even better, what we're looking to do is we're looking to host this every year, right? This won't be like a quarterly or every month thing. We're looking
No.
to have this bigger and better and more impactful every single year. And one day, maybe we can have Gary Sinise come. That would be
Yes.
amazing, right? Right.
That would be awesome.
And
Oh
there's
my
so
gosh.
many big goals and visions like that within the machine. So yes, like the Battleship North Carolina, number one, right? Number one
Yes.
thing. We've got a couple of things coming up ahead of that where myself and one of the other guys in the team, we're going to be doing a streamathon where we pretty much spend the entire 24 hours heading up to September 11th, streaming, talking to
Mhm.
people, sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
We're also going to be doing the Mission 22, where we do 22 push-ups every hour for those who happen to take their lives. It's 22.
Oh.
20. I get choked up here, so I apologize for that one. I kind of jumped
Okay.
over my words there. It's kind of a personal thing, but
Mhm.
for to combat and go against and really bring awareness to an issue of mental health and awareness for veterans
Mm.
who unfortunately see fit to take their lives at a higher rate. It's kind of astronomical. It's pretty frustrating for a lot of reasons, but we're trying to bring more attention to the point that there are people who have served who have given things that may not include their lives, and sometimes they might need help. And so
Mhm.
the Garrett Sinise Foundation does a fantastic job of getting the help to the people who need it. And then really, as a veteran, I found that community is what makes me still operate. Right. I
Mm.
love being around people. I love talking to people with energy like yours, Steph. All the people that we find in Sub 2 are just like fantastic folks. Um,
Yes.
and it's so important to have that community. And so in the North
Oh.
Carolina space, we're looking to bring that community. Come to the Battleship, come to the streams, come to the Zooms, show up, shoot text to your battle buddy, say, hey, how you doing, buddy? Hey, girl, how you doing? And let's just make sure that everyone's taken care of, that everyone's learning and growing together, and everything will be fine.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Like seriously, I wish I could fly there and go to this big event. This is exciting, but at least I can help you get the word out. I'm going to post that flyer everywhere that I possibly can on my Instagram, on Facebook, in all of the Facebook groups that I'm in the Sub 2 community and outside of the Sub 2 community, because really, like our veterans are everything. Seriously, our military is everything. I have military family. I know what it takes, and yeah, we have to be there for our military. If we're not there for them, how do we expect them to be there for us? Right? We have to support each other out, and yeah, that's huge. I'm going to start to get choked up.
I
So
know you. I had to bring it back. I was like, oh, I can't go crying on the first podcast. And we're
no,
not
we
even
can't do
40
that.
minutes in.
But this is huge. So we need to show our support. We need to make this where this is going to be a successful event every year. And it gets
That'll be
bigger
amazing.
and bigger and bigger. That would be huge if that, not if, it's going to happen. We're going to own it. We're putting
Yes,
it out there. It's going to
manifest.
happen. So let's get the word out to all of our battle buddies, put it all over social media. This is going to be great, and we got to show our support in every way that we can, by getting the word out, by donating, by going to the event. Yeah, let's make this happen. And then you have to promise me something. I want to see some videos and
Oh
pictures.
yeah.
Like, you got
Oh
to
yeah.
post this all over the place. I want to see what it looks like and how it's going. Like, if you could stream that live somehow, even just a
Oh
portion
yeah.
of it, that would
Yep.
be so much fun, because then all of us who can't make it there, we can at least see it some way and be there
Absolutely.
virtually or whatever. That would be awesome.
So there's a lot of things in the works there.
Okay.
I don't want to speak to I don't want to speak to something that I don't necessarily control, but
Okay.
we're getting good support, like amazing support from the community, and that's just what it is. And so, short piece there is that we happen to have a person who is a currently performing professional photographer, videographer, and effectively he's like, yeah, I'll do this for you. Like, this is a no
Nice.
brainer. And so for me, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna show up and live stream it and capture the shot
I
because
know,
that's
right?
what I would
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's what we're looking to forward. So if you can't make
Wonderful.
it this year, it's all right.
That's okay.
We've got a whole nother year to think about it. We've got other events that we're hosting in the interim. And then, we're going to make sure that we can bring this level of support and community and show people like, hey, we could be super bombastic and put everything that we do and every home that we've created or every contract or HUD. I mean, I agree with the HUD up or shut up thing to a degree,
Yeah.
but what I care more about is like, how many people are you impacting? Are you
Oh,
helping people?
wow.
Are you providing value? Do people speak
Right.
highly of you based on the value that you provided them? That's what I care about.
That's worth more.
Absolutely respect the dollars and get the money, go get your bag, love it. But
Yeah,
I care more about whether or not the community is better for it. And
that's right.
you can do both. You can do both.
Right, exactly. Well, you know what? I think that right there is the perfect spot to end it, right? We can do both. We can impact people positively, we can add value to people positively, and we can make the money while we're at it. There's
For
enough to
sure.
go around for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Let's help each
Absolutely.
other out. I love
Easy.
it. Thank you so much.